Having made their escape from the Black Riders in the woods of the East Farthing, the Hobbits make a mad dash for the Buckleberry Ferry, hoping to cross to Buckland in the safety of Crickhollow. However, danger lies all around, and ahead of the Hobbits are yet more servants of Sauron, blocking the path to the ferry and safety. Should they be caught before they can make it across the Brandywine, then the weapon of the enemy will be lost and all of Middle-earth will fall into darkness. But if they can make it to Crickhollow, then they may find safety for a time and the quest will have a chance. The companions must trust to their own skills and secrecy and prepare to make a dash for the ferry.
Hello and welcome to Striding Edge Games. I'm Boris and this is
Julian.
And here we are in Mission 3 of Quest of the Ringbearer, which is...
the mighty Buckleberry Ferry.
Yes, indeed. We are at Buckland? Buckleberry? We're in...
crossing into Buckland.
Crossing into Buckland, that's
right.
the one. Yeah, we'll see. Something about that. We have Mission 3. The Hobbits have to make it across the famous Buckleberry Ferry. Again, excellent scene in the films.
Yeah.
Pretty good in the books as well. And Mission 2, if you haven't seen it, go back and watch it. Spoilers, good one. So, good gain a bonus in the campaign. No one was particularly hurt or taxed. Everyone recovered, basically.
Yeah, we sailed clear through, I think.
You're all good. So effectively, 4 fresh Hobbits. You have Merry back in your warband now. The Hobbits, as the bonus, deploy 3 inches further towards the ferry. And objectives-wise, again, very simple. Frodo has to make it off the board edge nearest us, so across the river. And for evil, myself, we have to kill Frodo.
That's it.
Excellent. Very nice and simple. Rules-wise for this scenario, a lot is similar to the last mission. So we have the search, which is...
we play the sentry rules for the Nazgul.
Yeah.
They also have the Cry of the Nazgul special rule,
Yeah.
which was in the previous, which is just once per game after priority has been determined and the sentry's rules no longer in effect. All good models -3 courage.
Yeah. So basically, we are sentries. And then once the alarm has been raised, I can choose to have one turn where we sort of hammer down on the courage and stop you charging or something, or try and, we'll see.
Yeah, and then unlike the previous thing, nothing affects the good models. They just get to move freely.
Yeah, no courage checks to move. You realise you're in danger now. So
yeah, but there is a choke point, which is the ferry, and we have to move for that to cross the Brandywine because there's rules in for the river itself is deep water.
Yep.
Which is pretty risky for the Hobbits to swim.
I mean, only on the one, but yeah, there's a chance that you could just straight up die. Your Ringbearer drowns.
Yeah, but they also have to take a courage check when they're in the water, and if they fail, they swim back. Well, they swim towards the closest edge.
Yeah.
So if they haven't got halfway yet, they're just going backwards.
Going back, straight back to the river, like a drowned dog, or doggy paddle. The Nazgul also can't enter the river at all, so it's probably likely you'll probably run for the ferry.
It's a race to the river's edge.
Yeah. In terms of the ferry, we have our lovely ferry that took not too long actually. It was good fun. I just sat and built it. The board, I think, is the one I'm most excited about so far. This has been a lot of fun creating this river board. It's taken quite a while, and us just taking up your living room table, waiting for foam flock to dry, lots of resin pours and all that jazz. But we'll go over that in our campaign overview videos before we do a bit of the hobby stuff. The ferry itself is a bit of a strange combination of rules, but we're house rolling it slightly, so the river should be probably really big.
Well, it says 6 inches wide.
So the ferry for the objective has to travel 6 inches to get across the river, and then you can run the Hobbits off the other side.
But the ferry itself is like 4 inches wide.
Yeah, so the river would actually have to be like 10, and then we need the river pieces for other scenarios in the future where it has to be a bit narrower, so, spoilers. So the slight fudge we've done is, it is, no matter what the actual physical distance is, for the dice roll of moving the ferry, you add up to 6 inches. So you roll 3 on the first time you move the ferry, you're halfway, and then if you roll another 3, you're there, and you can disembark. So it'll look correct on camera, but it will be slightly incorrect in terms of physical difference. But it should look great for you guys. Other than that, the ferry can't be moved as part of a heroic, and you have to have someone on it. And other than that, I think it's basically just, you have to move it as part of your regular priority move. You can't be heroic moving away from the ring race if it comes to that.
It's not actually in the rules, but I feel it really should be. The Nazgul should not be able to move the ferry.
Maybe they're rowing it backwards back towards the other shore, who knows.
Or he could just head for it.
Yeah.
And then the hobbits just run up to the ferry.
Oh,
and
right,
then
I see what you mean, yeah. Well, the Nazgul are on sentry, so if somehow on sentry duty they end up walking onto the ferry, cool. Maybe, you never know, but no. Other than that, there is, the Brandywine we've gone over, and we've got the Cry of the Nazgul and the Sentry rules. So that is pretty much it. It should be quite simple, fingers crossed going forwards. And I think it's all going to come down to those sentry rolls, I would say. Priority and sentry rolls.
Yeah, otherwise, the 4 hobbits might just have to murk a Nazgul.
Yeah. If you can get 4 around a Nazgul and stab someone to death. Sam's got heroic strength,
Sam's got strength, yeah.
Strength of the Gamgee clan could do it. So, yeah, I think it's going to come down to the sentry rolls. If they are really low for a couple of turns and the Nazgul all go wandering off in different directions. Because at the moment, if I roll a 1 and they stand still, that's not the end of the world for me.
Yeah, you space
2
them
to
out.
3, where they start wandering off wherever you send them, is a bad thing. 4 to 6, great. So it's going to be really down to the sentry rolls what kind of game we have, I reckon. Whether or not it's going to be a big brawl in the middle or in the grass, or if it's going to be a sudden dash and the hobbits get onto the ferry and we're going to be chasing them to try and stop them escaping.
I guess there's only one way to find out.
Yeah, absolutely.
So we'll give you a quick overview of the board and let's start. Turn 1 of the good movement. We're taking a risky approach here and going as fast as possible towards the ferry. Still trying to keep Frodo protected with Sam and Merry sort of gatekeeping in case that Ringwraith manages to roll a 6. And we're straight onto the Ringwraith's sentry rolls and hoping that they roll a, 2 to 4, I believe it is. No, 2 to 3.
Turn 1, evil moves, and the hobbits are being aggressive, so we're going to go straight into the sentry rolls. We'll start with the furthest right one here, because it doesn't matter too much. Rolling 1, so he stands exactly still. That's not the worst, but not the best. We'll go straight into the furthest left one, who also is quite far away. He rolls a 4, not bad. Okay, so we get to move him up 3 inches. And that's where he ends up. We have just house rule, these gaps in the fences or the hedges are open ground. They're just for show. So he's moved 3 inches, sort of diagonally towards the ferry, but to come up behind his companion here because of the hobbits charge through. He doesn't want to be playing catch up. And the final and most important roll, the wraith right in front of the hobbits, he rolls a 2. Oh no, that's the worst possible result. So that is the good player moving him 3 inches. And the wraith ends up searching the wrong direction with his back to the hobbits, which is really unfortunate. But there we are, straight into turn 2. And priority for turn 2, another key one. See if we can get some wraiths moving. Evil rolls, a 5, strong start, 1 for good. So we have priority. Not a huge deal, actually. In fact, that's probably better for good.
It's way better for good.
Yeah, so, we'll let's see what we can do with our sentries. Turn 2, and we're starting with the left-hand most wraith. He rolls a 4 again. Okay, so he moves 3 inches up. And that's where he ends up. He swears he's heard some hobbits sneaking around down here somewhere, so he's pushed up to the centre. We then have the furthest right hobbit, wraith. He stood still last turn. This turn he rolls a 4 as well. That's quite good. So he moves 3 inches forward. The net is tightening. And that is where he ends up, just tucked into the other side of the hedge with the hobbits directly in front. Again, still can't see them yet. And the last roll, probably the most key one, the central wraith is going to roll his sentry, see if he can find these hobbits, and he rolls 1. Not the worst, he's standing still and he is blocking the way to the ferry, but not great.
For turn 2, the good movement. The hobbits are a little more cautious now. They're sneaking up, they've moved their full move, but slightly off from that centre axis. They positioned themselves so if, one of the ring wraiths rolls a 6 for a sentry move, they might be able to get themselves out of sight and still not alerting those sentries. So it's on to the turn 3 and the priority roll.
Turn 3, straight into priority, another big one. We'll go straight off with the priority roll. So evil rolls 4. It's good, is it? Tough beat.
Let's see. Oh, good gets a 3, so it's evil priority.
That's actually probably what you want again, but let's see what happens.
Yeah.
And into the sentry rolls, we have the southernmost wraith here. He's just on the other side of the hedge from those hobbits. Can he get to see them? So he rolls a 5. Amazing news. So he moves 3 inches. And that's where he ends up, just moving along the edge of the hedge. He is now just a hair's breadth within 3 inches of Samwise Gamgee. So if things stayed where they were, we would be raising the alarm. However, the hobbits are still yet to move. So we'll go on to the sentry rolls for the northernly most ring wraith, who's the furthest out on a limb. So he rolls a 5. That's pretty good as well. So he moves 3. And he's closing the distance to the hobbits as well. Just moved a bit closer, but he's still quite a far way out. Lastly, we have the central ring wraith with his back to the hobbits. He rolls
the 6.
Oh, big 6. That is big news. So the hobbits might be in trouble here. And amazingly, that brings the central ring wraith right into range of the hobbits. So he is about an inch away from Pippin. And all 3 are closing the net. We've been amazingly lucky on sentry rolls again. And we've got the hobbits almost where we want them. However, we've still got the hobbits to move. So let's see what the hobbit movement does.
So for the good movement, it was a very tricky choice here. After some discussion, we agreed that Frodo, if he can move to where he is out of sight of that southern ring wraith. Sam is very much out of sight. Unfortunately, there wasn't the movement on Merry or Pippin to also sneak through the little gap there, so they've had to go back to the western board edge, which is splitting the Fellowship at this early stage. It's going to be a tricky bit of game, but perhaps if the sentry rolls on the next turn favour us a bit more, we might be able to just sneak around and maybe get Frodo and Sam to that ferry, and Merry and Pippin's sacrifice will be worth it. And that was the end of the turn, so it's straight into the priority for the next turn.
Alrighty, evil rolls a 3.
Good gets a 1.
Again, possibly what good once. So evil move first with our sentry rolls. On to turn 3 movement, and we're going to start with the northernmost ring wraith, who is bottom of the screen. His sentry roll a 3. That's unfortunate. So he's moved by the good side.
And that's where he ends up. We're moving him away from the hobbits and away from the ferry.
Next, we have the central ring wraith, who is breathing down the neck of Merry and Pippin. His sentry roll is, oh no, 1. Not the worst. He's still blocking access for the hobbits, but he's just going to stand there gawping. And finally, the southernmost ring wraith, who is nearest to Frodo and Sam. Can he continue the chase? His sentry roll, oh no, a 3. Across the board, not successful.
For the good choice to move the ring wraith, we've moved them closer to the central wraith that's stuck in the middle. This has got the benefit of being further away from the ferry and also reducing the coverage of the ring wraith sentry bubble. For the hobbits' movement, Frodo and Sam have squeezed through that little gap. They're keeping the hedge in between them and the ring wraiths. And Merry and Pippin have gone round the larger hedge, still keeping that distance between themselves and the other 2 ring wraiths. And we're on to the priority for the next turn.
Yeah, absolutely. So turn 4 priority, evil are going to roll and they get a 3, not bad.
And for the goods roll, oh, we get a 5 this turn. It's probably not what we want, but we'll go with it. For the good side movement, Frodo and Sam have made a break for the ferry. They're cutting across the open ground and leaving their friends behind. Merry and Pippin still hiding in the hedge, just waiting to see what the ringwraiths will do.
On to sentry rolls.
Yeah.
And we have some sentry rolls, so we'll start with the northernmost wraith. He is furthest away, so of least consequence, and he rolls 1. Okay, he just stands there sort of staring at some twigs he found on the ground. The central wraith, who could potentially move towards Merry and Pippin if he rolls well. No, 2, so good move him, that's unfortunate.
So move the ringwraith further away from the ferry and further away from the hobbits.
And the last wraith, who potentially could threaten either group of hobbits if he rolls well. His sentry roll, 1. And at least he doesn't move further away, but that's quite unfortunate. And this is the state of the board at the end of the turn. The hobbits are creeping closer. They're a good few turns away. Frodo and Sam. Merry and Pippin are sort of
miles behind.
Lost in the hedgerows. And the 3 ringwraiths are really close together, weirdly, but that's how it is. So let's go straight into priority evil. 6, big 6.
And for the fellowship, all the other 4.
Okay, again, that's probably the way you want it. We'll go into evil sentry moves. And sentry rolls for another turn. We'll start again with the northernmost ringwraith. It hasn't moved for a while. He rolls a 4. Okay, not too bad. He moves a couple of inches. And he's turned around slightly and he's going to start heading towards the ferry, sensing perhaps it's a key choke point. Then we have the central ringwraith, who stood still as well. He rolls a 6. That's huge. So that could bring us into range for Merry and Pippin. Let's have a look. Had a look at it. He could get round and to within 3 inches of Merry and Pippin, but they're still to move, so they would just scarper out the way. So instead, he's also about faced and has moved fast straight towards the centre of the board with Frodo and Sam in the wings. Hopefully we can sort of head them off. And then we're into the final wraith, the southernmost. So he rolls a big 5. That's quite good as well. Okay, let's move him and see what happens. And he moves 3 inches down the side of the hedgerow. Merry and Pippin on one side and a wraith on the other. He hasn't spotted them yet, and they are still to move, but hopefully we can shut off a area, stop them coming through to help their other friends, and we can cordon off Frodo and Sam later in the game for the other 2 wraiths. Let's see what good do in return.
For the good movement, Merry and Pippin have snuck as close as possible to that ringwraith's vision range. They're just outside of 3, so it shouldn't trigger the sentries. And it gives them a chance to get through that gap and get towards the ferry. Finally, Frodo and Sam, they've continued on their path. They're kind of trying to keep out of range of the ringwraiths. They're now within 2 moves of the ferry. With that, we're back onto the priority. I think Evil's going to roll first.
Yeah, let's see what we get. Come on. That's a 3.
Evil's on a 3. Let's see if we're good. On a 1. This is an interesting result.
Okay.
Straight into the sentry rolls.
Another key turn really could flip either way depending on the sentry rolls. So let's go straight into those. We'll start with the northernmost out of order, or out of place rather, ringwraith. So he rolls a 1. All right, well at least he's not getting any further away. The central ringwraith, who potentially could threaten either group of hobbits. He rolls, oh my god, double 1. Okay, so he's standing still. Not looking good. And finally, this might be the most key one, the southernmost ringwraith. He rolls a 2. Oh my word, that's possibly even worse. Let's see where good move him.
For this ringwraith's movement, obviously the hobbits have made a loud distraction and wrong-footing him. He's chasing after the bag of mushrooms, and the hobbits are going to slip through that gap. End of the good movement. The hobbits have just moved through. Merry and Pippin slipping through that gap. They're catching up with Frodo and Sam. They're going to take a slightly riskier path. Sam and Frodo, they're just within reach of that ferry, but it's probably going to be another 2 turns, so it could be risky on this final sentry roll, maybe?
Who knows? Let's go into priority for the next turn. And priority for the next turn could be key again. Evil. Oh, 2.
And for the good, oh, we get a 2.
Okay, so it's good movement as Evil had it last.
For the good movement, Frodo and Sam have... Well, Sam's made it onto the ferry, but Frodo's still lagging behind, which means that it's going to be another turn at least before it starts moving. Merry and Pippin are going a bit faster. They're bringing up the rear quick. They're going to take a risky path, and it's going to be down to what the sentry rolls come for.
For the evil movement, we have sentry rolls. We'll start with the northernmost out of position Wraith again. He rolls a 1. Okay, so he just really likes where he is. We're going to jump next to the southernmost Wraith, who was wrong-footed by Merry and Pippin. Let's see if he can turn it around. A 4. Okay, so at least he gets to move a bit closer. And he ends up just able to start making his way across that hedge line in pursuit of the Hobbits. And then probably the most significant roll this turn, we have the central ring Wraith, who we'll see. If with a good roll, he could make his way towards the Hobbits and perhaps raise the alarm. Oh, a 6. That is exactly what we needed. And there we are. The central Wraith moves 6 inches up. He moves straight forwards, but making sure he was just within 3 inches of Merry. So the alarm is raised, but he moved straight towards the ferry and the dock as fast as possible. So in the next turn, I can start to threaten the Ringbearer. Other than that, hopefully the other 2 Wraiths can now start to do something useful, and the 4 Hobbits have a bit of a race on their hands. We'll go into priority for the next turn.
So after that nail-biter of a turn, the alarm is raised, there's no more sentry rolls, it's just down to whether Frodo and Sam can get that ferry to work and get off the board.
Leaving Merry and Pippin though?
Well, yeah, I mean, they might have to just make a sacrifice.
We see how it is.
It's one they're willing to do.
Yeah. All right.
Straight into the priority roll.
Evil rolls a 5, strong.
Ooh, it's a 1 for good.
1, so that is good this time around for evil rather. Let's see what we do.
So, with little choice, Good has had to call a heroic move on Frodo. He and Sam have now fully occupied the ferry, but Merry and Pippin are probably going to get left behind, and there's 3 ring wraiths bearing down on them. Now it's the evil moves.
On to evil moves, and the northernmost ring wraith, just at the top of the screen there, has moved a full 6 towards the ferry, and he is now within 12 inches of the ferry and Frodo and Sam. We need Frodo to get back off that ferry, so we're going to try a compel, cast on a 4-up, and we're going to throw 3 of our 7 will at it to just try and make sure it goes off. So we cast it on a 6. So now it's up to Frodo whether or not he wants to resist.
It's a very tricky choice for Frodo here. Does he spend as much will as possible on trying to resist the compel? But this is the first one, and there are 2 more ring wraiths that could potentially drag him off the raft. So I think he's just going to go with his basic resistant to magic. It's a single dice. Maybe we'll get lucky. Maybe it will be a 6. Oh, I saw 1, but I don't think it's true.
And we've just moved Frodo forward 2 inches back onto the pier. So he's off the ferry, which is fantastic. It means next turn they have to move on again. And then, rather than guaranteeing their escape, and we have 2 more ring wraiths to move. Second to move is the central ring wraith, and he's moved just within an inch of Frodo. Couldn't charge, but almost there, and hopefully next turn with good priority. Second step in our evil plan is he's going to 3 dice sap will on Frodo and try and drain his reserves ahead of next turn. So 3 dice casting on a 5. Oh, that's really disappointing. Not a sausage, and we are down to 4 will on that central wraith. Lastly, the southernmost wraith on the left, top left there, is just in range to charge Pippin. So he's going to move in, and on the way in, he's going to cast Sap Will on Frodo and attempt what his brethren tried and failed. So we're going to do 3 dice, 5 up, get it on a 6. So again, it's whether or not Frodo wants to resist.
Oh. Frodo is going to try and resist it using just his resistant to magic.
Very nice.
Otherwise, he might just end up losing more will in resisting it than he actually loses from the sap will. So we're looking for a 6 up. No, we get the opposite.
So that's D3 will. Frodo loses 2. Okay, not too bad. So he's got 1 left and is free.
For good movement, we only have Merry to move. He's going to leave Pippin behind, hopefully maybe to disrupt the Ringwraith's nefarious plan on the next turn. And that's that. And then we're on to the combat between Pippin and a Ringwraith.
Into combat, and we have a Nazgul versus Pippin. I'm not going to do any special strikes.
Screw it. Pippin's going to try and stab the Ringwraith.
It's a brave little hobbit. So we'll 1 dice each. The Wraith gets a 3. Oh, okay. And the Wraith wins it on fight value. The Wraith strikes. Strength 4 against defense 3. It's 4s to wound. Or we get a wound with a 4 against poor Pippin. He has single point of fate.
Pippin might as well spend his fate point here. It hangs in the balance.
Oh, makes it just.
He saves that. Unfortunately, in his eagerness, Pippin has potentially stabbed himself in the face.
Shall I roll it?
Yeah, evil shall roll.
Okay, so it's going to be a 5 to wound, strength 2, defense 3. Rolls a 2, not quite. That would have been excellent, but hey ho. The Wraith loses a point of will from being in combat, down to 3, and we'll go on to priority. Evil roll a 5. It's a big 5. 1. So we might be looking at a heroic from good again. Starting the turn after priority, this seems like an excellent turn to try the Cry of the Nazgul. So we've called that, and there will be a -3 to all good models' courage this turn, which could really help us, hopefully. And then good have decided to do some heroic moves.
Yeah, Frodo's going to call a heroic move to get himself back onto the ferry. He's also going to call a with me and potentially draw Merry in. Though sadly, Mary's going to have to take a courage check, so we'll see how that goes. First things first is Frodo will move. Sam's going to stay where he is because we might be able to operate the ferry this turn.
Yeah, it's worth noting we've decided that the way the ferry works is if Sam declines the with me, he hasn't moved, so he can still move the ferry as a sort of pilot. So we think that's only fair. It's basically like throwing a stone. For the Hobbits. So we'll move on to Frodo's heroic move.
So with his heroic move, Frodo has run onto the ferry and he's cowering behind Sam. This should hopefully prevent him from being compelled off the ferry again. Next up, Merry is going to try and charge the Ringwraith and just, take one more spell out of the equation. He's got a mighty courage of 1, so we're looking for a 9 on 2 dice.
Oh, Merry!
And he does it on a double 6!
Bravest companion right there.
Yeah.
On to evil movement, and the furthest away Ringwraith has raced in. He's just behind the Ringwraith that was bravely charged by Merry, and we're going to lean into our evil tendencies, and we're going to try and black dart Merry out of combat. If we're successful, the Ringwraith at the end of the pier can then move his full distance and get into combat with Frodo, and we can start hacking away at the Ringbearer. We're going to throw 3 dice at this. He's only got 4, but if we can get Merry out of the way, that would be fantastic. Black dart, casting on a 5. We get it on the 6. There we go. So Merry has no will, but 1 resistant to magic.
Yeah. So Merry needs a 6 on the dice that I've basically failed to roll a single 6 for.
Here we
let's go. Ready? Here we go.
He just doesn't care. That's another 3 will for no result. That is awful, but I can't be mad. Merry is just loving it.
Shrugs that one off.
Sensing the end is near, the Wraith that was fighting Pippin has run up as well. He's also going to try a black dart, but he's only got 3. So 3 will, that is. So he's going to just throw 1 and try it on a 5 up. No, on a 3. That's disappointing. So Merry is stuck in combat with that Wraith, and we still have good regular moves.
So with a cry for his friend Merry, Pippin's charging up following the Ringwraith, and we've got to the point that everyone's been waiting for, some exciting ferry action. We're going to roll the random dice to see how far it goes, and It's a 6! So the ferry bearing Frodo and Sam has crossed the mighty Brandywine, and the good side has maybe got this in the bag? We'll see. On to the close combat between Merry and the Ringwraith. We're on to the combat between the gallant Merry and the Ringwraith. Ringwraith, are you going to do any special strikes?
No, we won't faint, just because it would be embarrassing to have our fight value drop below that of a Hobbit. So we'll just roll as standard. Any from Merry?
Oh.
He's going to stab.
I think he's just going to stab. Okay. Come on, let's do it.
Okay, the Ringwraith rolls a 1, excellent. Merry rolls a 3. There we go.
The beast Merry is going to strike the Ringwraith. He's looking for 6s and then 5s, but he might get to re-roll a 1, so let's see how we do. It's a 4, so nothing.
Not too bad, however. The Ringwraith loses a will, so he's down to 3. End of the turn and into priorities. It's looking thin for the chances for evil. We are very low. We have 5 will on the board entirely. No more -3 courage, just the -1 regular. And Frodo and Sam are on the opposite bank, so who knows what we'll do. However, we'll go into priority, evil roll, a 5, not bad. Could roll a 6, continues their roll of good luck, and with no might on the board for evil, it's good moves.
In the good movement, Sam and Frodo have dismounted from the ferry and they're running for the board edge, leaving their friends behind. But Merry and Pippin are probably going to try and tangle with some Ringwraiths once more. We'll start off with Merry. He's back to courage 4, but with the Harbinger of Evil rule, means he's on courage 3. So he needs a 7 on 2 dice, which he doesn't manage. That's pretty brutal. So a 6, so he's going to stand still. And then Pippin also needs the same result. Also fails. So the 2 hobbits are left standing in terror as their friends run away.
Evil moves, and there's not much we can do. We could have perhaps thrown a couple of black darts at Frodo, but most we could do is 2 wounds, which he has 2 wounds, 3 fate. Couldn't have done anything, and there's a rest point, which is really unfortunate for us. But so we're just instead going to bully hobbits. All 3 Ringwraiths have charged in, 1 to Pippin and 2 on Merry. Pippin is out of fate, but Merry still has his. So the Ringwraith on the right there is going to throw 2 dice on a black dart just on his way in. No, doesn't get it at all. So he's down to 1 will, as is the other one in the combat with Merry, and they'll both evaporate. But next turn, Sam and Frodo are getting off anyway. So on to a combat. Into combat, and we have 1 Ringwraith against Pippin. We aren't going to faint. Pippin.
He's going to stand still. He's probably not going to stab because he doesn't have that protective fate, and it would be a shame for that to kill him.
Yeah, okay, so we'll just straight up dice off. Evil get a 4.
And Pippin gets a 5.
There we go. He gets pushed back, and you need a 6 to wound him.
Pippin's looking for 6. No.
Not today. And then we have the fight of the century, brave Merry against 2 Ringwraiths. 1 will faint, and 1 won't, just to keep the fight value, to be a bit tricksy. Is Merry going to stab?
You know what? Why not? Merry's going to stab.
Why not, indeed. So let's see what you have to beat. If you roll first. A 4. Can the Ringwraiths
from the Hobbit
beat a 4? They absolutely cannot. They add up to a 4, but they can't.
Come on, Merry.
So Merry pushes both Ringwraiths back and striking one of them.
Yeah, he's looking for 6s first. Let's see how we go. Well, he gets a 1, so because he's stabbed, he's able to re-roll this.
There we go. Come on, Merry.
Now, back into a 4.
A dream too far. And that is the end of the turn. Both of the Ringwraiths that are in combat with Merry lose their last point of will and are banished. Merry standing triumphant. Pippin standing triumphant with a Ringwraith with 1 will left on the field. And Frodo and Sam are well within board edge range. And at the start of the next turn, there's nothing left to do. Frodo and Sam move off, successfully escaping. Merry and Pippin have decided they're going to bully the last Ringwraith on the board, and it's a 2-on-1. So we're going to roll to see who claims the glory. And here we are, the greatest combat of our time. Merry and Pippin hungry for a 3rd Ringwraith kill. or at least banishment. The Ringwraith will not faint, so we're just going to set the bar on a mighty 6. Yes.
What a shame. Merry and Pippin, they're going to do their own rolls.
Just for fun. One out the tray, but it's a 1.
One got a 1, and the other one got a 1.
Okay, their luck has finally run out. And in search for vengeance, we're going to strike Pippin, who is fateless. No, needing a 4, rolling a 2, and that is unfortunate. Pippin survives by the skin of his teeth, and the Ringwraith is banished back to the ether. And there we have it. That is the end of Buckleberry Ferry. Hobbits made their daring escape.
Yeah, it was pretty sneaky. I mean, no Hobbit left behind is not a word that's understood by this fellowship.
Yeah, clearly. It's pretty brutal. Cutthroat, but they were fine, apparently.
Yeah, that was it. I mean, I
fine.
really don't know what the film makes it seem really dramatic, but honestly, all that really needed to happen was Merry and Pippin could just tie up some Ringwraiths from Frodo and Sam just bugger off.
Apparently, Merry could take on as many Ringwraiths as could be thrown at him. Yeah, how did you feel that went versus what you thought at the start?
I didn't quite know what to expect coming into this mission. I mean, it's similar to the last one, but the good side's got a real choke point, so evil can really anticipate where they're going.
Yep.
You kind of miss out on Gildor, especially for that 8-inch move. And I mean, I think for me, the sentry rolls went pretty much almost perfectly for me.
Yeah, I think I got really good ones in like the first or maybe the first and the second turn. All of them sort of
I think you went
straight together and almost looked like I was about to like bottle in the Hobbits, and then suddenly they went wrong, and you were able to sneak. I mean, I managed to split. You know, and Merry and Pippin had to run backwards, and Frodo and Sam ran forwards, and I thought, great, this is excellent. I'll be able to send all 3 wraiths against just 2 hobbits, and hopefully Frodo and Sam, and just get a whole bunch of wounds. But it was not the way. You were able to get, you know, those sentry rolls suddenly went bad, and then you were able to slip through, get almost all the way to the ferry before the alarm was raised.
Yeah.
And then it was an uphill struggle. It was quite fun going nuclear this time and just throwing a whole bunch of dice at spells. It kind of worked and kind of didn't. I'd managed to get Frodo back off the ferry, which is really good fun.
That was quite a nasty surprise, but...
Yeah, it kind of worked. And then, the dice sort of fell through the floor. I think your dice were a lot better this game than the last game.
Yeah, I mean, they did all right. I mean, I suppose I didn't really roll that many crucial dice. And, I mean, the resists, I didn't do super well on anything. But the few duels that did come up, I think I did pretty well on it. I mean, it shows, it's the Middle-earth thing of you're just not rolling many dice.
Yeah.
So even when you're like, oh, look, there's 2 Ringwraiths versus Merry, there's no way he can win this.
1 bad dice roll.
And you're like,
can throw it
for starters, you're like, oh, I've just lost the duel roll. And even if you win the duel roll, it's still, you know, they're still only winning him on a 4. So, I mean, the Hobbits are surprisingly tough.
Ringwraiths are just not, they're not combat monsters, I think, is what I'm very quickly learning. I kind of knew it beforehand, but just having no might on the board is so rough in terms of you just are completely at the whim of the priority rolls and the scenario, and in the last 2, the sentry rolls, completely at the whim of that, and there's nothing you can do about it. And in those combats and stuff where you are roll and you're one off or drawing and you're like, I need to, you know, tick up to win, there's nothing you can do. But I guess that's how the scenario is balanced, because otherwise, if they had might or fate,
it'd be horrid. I mean, the Hobbits would have no chance.
Exactly,
I think, really.
Exactly.
And also, I mean, just the Ringwraiths with like their starting amount of will when they've only got 7.
Yeah. You think it's a lot to start with. You're like, oh, I've got
I mean, it
7.
is a lot.
You've got 7. It's half. It's half their available one. So you think, oh, that's great. I've got loads of will to throw some dice. But it's effectively if your good spells are on 5s. And you want to throw at least 2 dice, if not 3. So that's basically 2, if not 3 spells.
And against Hobbits, because they've got that resistance. And so, like, if you're casting against Frodo, you're really thinking carefully about how many dice
or even Merry or Pippin. You can't be I'm
you
guaranteed
can't just
to
sort
get
of like backhandedly be like, oh, I'll just smack out a black dart.
Because their Compel is on a 4, I believe, and they've got a couple of spells on a 2 and a 3. So even those, you go, I could probably just cast it on a low one. Merry and Pippin, they've got no will. I could get them out of the way or do something interesting. No, you've still got that resist to contend with, so you can never guarantee it, which is a huge thing to have to contend with. But hey, that's that. In terms of the campaign, I think I did fairly well. I drained 2 might and 2 will from Frodo.
Yeah,
with a couple of heroic moves and a drain courage.
Yeah.
Sorry, a sap will.
The sap wheel, that was nasty.
It was quite good. So if we had another mission next where it was linked, I'd be quite happy with that. Unfortunately, we are now at a rest point.
Yeah.
So Crickhollow, the hobbits escape through Buckleberry Ferry. The ringwraiths don't catch them, and they get to Buckleberry Ferry and meet Fatty Bolger, book-wise, I suppose.
Yeah.
And have baths,
I think they have some baths and some supper.
Sounds lovely, to be
Sounds
honest.
like a good plan.
Yeah, after being chased through the dark and the mud. So unfortunately, there's none of the stats are deducted permanently. All the hobbits regain completely. If I had managed to kill Merry and or Pippin, nothing would have happened. You get +1 to the recovery roll, so minimum you could roll would be a 2, and then you recover thanks to the rest point anyway, is the way we read it. So all the hobbits are back at full whack, unfortunately. But good effort, I think, from the ringwraiths.
Yeah.
It takes us on to, again, it doesn't really matter, but I think it's for consistency's sake. Fool of a Took and Bravest Companion, do you have firm opinions?
I think we both know who the bravest companion is. That's straightforward. It was definitely Merry.
Easily.
Taking when he was on Courage 1 and rolling a double 6 for his terror check was just pretty amazing.
Don't mess with Brandybucks, eh?
Yeah, battling Brandybucks.
Exactly. And then he won twice against Ringwraith. He won against 1, and then he won against 2.
Yeah, he did pretty well.
Almost did a wound on them as well. So absolutely, easily bravest companion. So well done, Merry.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, you don't get to recover anything. So, but it'll be marked in the ledger, the campaign ledger, that he was the bravest companion. Fool of a Took.
I think it was Frodo for me. It was all pretty much plain sailing. We were on the ferry. Sam was going to start it moving. That would have been great. And Frodo just gets compelled, steps off. And that led to quite a panic. I think it was touch and go for a second. I reckon you had a chance.
There was a small chance. I think after I caught, you slipped through and it looked a bit dire. Once the alarm was raised and I managed to compel him back onto the dock, all of the wraiths were about a turn away from combat with Frodo. There was a chance that if I could charge him and trap him against the rock or the dock, and win a good couple of combats and keep you away with the terror checks, needing to charge them, there was a chance I could have inflicted some real damage on Frodo, but Merry intervened and evaded that. So I would agree. I don't think he was massively a fool, but I think out of them he was a clear fool. Unlike last game when everyone did quite well. Yeah, I think this game he was definitely a fool of a Took. So Ringbearer, fool of a Took.
I still feel we should probably acknowledge the skillful Hobbit special forces. The way they just misled those ringwraiths and just sort of gave them a real runaround.
I would say exactly. It was when they're hiding from the horse mounted wraith in the film, and they throw the bag of mushrooms, and he goes that way. Merry and Pippin exactly did that. It was perfect. They kind of the wraith came round the hedge, and then they ran the other way. Perfect. Quite a few of these scenarios have led to really visually thematic moments just naturally, which is fantastic. So I think props to the rules writers. Yeah. And the game system, and kind of to us for.
I think actually how you lay out your terrain and what terrain you have makes a big difference. Actually, especially in something like this where there's so few models. And it's all about the movement and when you're going.
The hobbits are so slow.
Hobbits are so slow. Oh my god! 4-inch movement is just unbelievable. Yeah. You're looking at the board and you're like, oh yeah, I can get through there, and then you're like, oh, that's 2 movements.
That's 2 moves. Yeah. But we are at a rest point, and as you hopefully know if you watched our campaign overview, we will be swapping sides. So there's no carryover, as obviously everyone recovers. So I will finally be taking the reins of the forces of good, and you will be switching to the forces of evil for chapter 2 of Quest of the Ringbearer. We won't give away exactly what scenarios are coming up because it is a little bit of a custom job.
We mixed it up a tiny bit.
So don't, it's not an obvious one. We will be going over the things we came up with, the hobby. We're going to do a little bit of a rest point breakdown. So every rest point we're going to do a video and talk about the hobby, the models, favourite parts, that sort of thing. So that is next. We will have that before chapter 2, and then chapter 2 will be coming up soon after this. I think that's basically everything.
Yeah, that's that.
I think that's that. So thank you for watching. Hopefully you guys enjoyed that as much as we did. We were having excellent fun. It's quite late where we are now, so we're going to get some food and relax. A seed cake and a cup of tea, as they suggest in the rule book.
Yep.
Something like that. Hot baths.
Hot bath. Yeah, I might have to go home for that. But
yeah, I think so. Alrighty. Thank you very much for watching. Please comment your favourite part, like, subscribe, and let us know what you think. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.